You got to fight, but the thing is, if you do fight in God, you're going to win. That's the guarantee. Fight against your Baal. That's the thing. Don't live with it. Fight against Baal. When the people of the city got up early, goes on, verse 28, in the morning, behold, the altar of Baal had been torn down, and the Asherah which had been beside it would be cut down by Gideon. And the second bull had been offered up on the altar which had been built. So they said to another, who did this thing? I just hit me right now. They're saying, who did this thing? The name Gideon means the one who cuts down. And they searched and inquired, and they said, it's Gideon, the son of Joash, did this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, bring out your son, that he may die. For he has torn down the altar of Baal, and indeed he has cut down the Asherah which was beside it. This is amazing. These are Israelites talking. Instead of rejoicing that the altar is broken down and celebrating the one who did it, they're saying he must be put to death. This is the nation that was consecrated to God by God, told to stay away from the gods of the nations. They began opening themselves up to Baal. Hey, tolerance, anything goes. Now they're seeking to kill the person who took down his altar. Now they are serving Baal. But Joash, this is the father of Gideon, who had the altar, stood up, said to all who stood against him, will you contend for Baal? Will you save Baal? He's saying, are you actually fighting for Baal? We don't know why he allowed that altar, but he's saying, are you actually fighting for Baal? You're actually trying to save him. And then he says this, listen, if Baal is a god, let him contend for himself. Let him fight for himself. Since somebody, I don't know who, somebody has torn down his altar. Joash is saying, if Baal is really God, you don't have to do anything. Let Baal contend. Sounds like Elijah. Paul just mentioned this word. There's this where Elijah said, basically on the Mount Carmel, if Baal is God, serve him. Go ahead. But then Elijah says, listen, I don't hear Baal coming. What's going on, guys? Shout louder. Maybe he doesn't hear you. He might be on vacation. He might be indisposed, guys. There's like no reverence for Baal. The very act that Gideon did begins to break the spell of Baal. Because now his father, who owned the altar, is saying, listen, let Baal do it if he's a god. You see, it just takes one person to stand to break the spell. One person. Now look at the next verse. Therefore, on that day, listen to this, look at the verse, here it is. He named Gideon Jerubbaal. That is to say, let Baal contend against him, because he tore down his altar. And that is the mystery behind this word that has surfaced after 3,000 years, that very name. It means let Baal contend against him. Let Baal contend against Gideon. Let him do it. What a name. What a name. Gideon had Baal in his name. His name was Gideon, the one who cuts down. How perfect. That's why you want to know the Hebrew, because it's so much there. But Gideon is cutting down, but then his name is let Baal contend against him. It's like a challenge to Baal. His name is a call. Go ahead, Baal. That's what it is. It'd be like someone having the name, let Zeus contend, strike this one down. Let him do it. It's a challenge. It becomes the name of this hero of God. And after that event, Gideon becomes victorious. Jerubbaal is the name that has now surfaced in Israel after 3,000 years. It reveals something. You who are of God, you're in a war. The very name of Gideon couldn't escape it. His very name has Baal in it. You're in a war, and if you don't fight that war, if you don't fight a war that you're in, you're not going to win the war. You got to fight, but the thing is, if you do fight in God, you're going to win. That's the guarantee. Fight against your Baal. That's the thing. Don't live with it. Fight against Baal. And that name coming after 3,000 years now. Why? Could there be significance? Could there be a prophetic thing in this? It's the name of the one who fights the gods. There's a prophetic realm here. You see, we live in a day and a culture that is very much like that of Gideon's at his time. A nation, a culture that once knew God, now doesn't know God. A nation that once said Baal is wrong, now celebrates Baal. Now worships Baal, now sacrifices to Baal. And just like in Gideon, as in there, it says, if you come against Baal, if you come against our new gods, if you disrespect them, if you break them down, if you speak against them, you are the enemy. You must be canceled and silenced. You must be punished. You see, this is the effect of the principalities, the gods. And pray for me, because this is linked to the book that I have not been able to write because of warfare, but pray. A culture that America starts tolerating Baal, now is the servant of Baal, against God, against his people, and seeks to silence the gospel, cancel you, and the enemy is in it, trying to intimidate you, calling evil good and good evil, just like the men of Joash, the men there. Just this week, there was what we are doing, we are taking children and surgically altering them. Is that madness? And there's a book that was written called Irreversible Damage, which is a book medically saying this is not good, this is wrong, this is killing them, this is wrong. And the thing is, there's a book association, the major American book association recommends books to libraries, and they had that on the list. And they got a backlash on it. And so this week they issued a groveling apology. Say, we are so sorry that we had this book on there. They said, apologies not enough. We're going to repent of this. So that we offended you with a book that simply is saying this is not good. And it says, they said, having this on the list was violence. Violence. No, surgically altering children is violence. Good is evil, evil is good. These are the days of Baal. These are the days of the gods. And now the name Jerubbaal comes up from Israel, the name of Gideon after 2,000 years, 3,000 years. Because in this day, in this age, God is calling his people, you, to rise up as Gideon. Amen. He's calling us to be Jerubbaal. He's calling us to be a Jerubbaal generation, a Jerubbaal people, and you to be a Jerubbaal person and live a Jerubbaal life. To rise against your fear, rise up against your doubts, rise up against any compromise and the sin that so easily entangles, and take your stand against Baal. If you're going to be victorious in the world, you got to be victorious in your life. Take your stand against the gods of this age. Do not reverence Baal. Do not fear him. Do not fear this culture. Do not fear its intimidation. Do not fear its threats. Do not fear man. Do not fear the Goliaths of this age. Be strong and of good courage. For the name Jerubbaal is a name of confidence. It's saying, go ahead. Let Baal contend. It's a ancient Hebrew way of saying, go ahead, make my day. Go ahead, make my day. Go ahead, let Baal contend, let the culture contend, let the media contend, let the enemy contend, let Satan contend, let the darkness contend, let the world contend. I will not live in fear. I will not be intimidated. I will not cower. I am not afraid of Baal. I am not afraid of the gods. I'm not afraid of the dark of this age, for I stand in the name of him who is greater than the darkness, greater than the gods. I stand in the name of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let Baal contend. It'll come to nothing. I will be like Gideon. I will be victorious, triumphant, mighty, a champion of God, for I am more than a conqueror through him who loves me, and greater, much greater is he who is in me than Baal who's in the world.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Cahn, and I hope you were blessed with the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Feel free to share your reactions with your comments and how you were blessed, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.